again with a bit of a unique video. Now, in today's video, we're going to be focusing on my personal opinion for some of the names of some countries here in WICSO. Now, within the WICSO community, there's recently been like hot debates going, well, not really hot debates. There's been like some hot debates going on over what certain countries are called. For example, for example, some people. For example, there's currently been an ongoing debate as to what to call this country. Do people call it Slovenia? Should people call it Croatia? Should people call it, I don't know, Yugoslavia? And yeah. So in today's video, we're going to be focusing on my personal opinions on what I think these countries should, or what personally what I think personally what I call these countries. Now, before you bash me down ahead in the comments, if you guys call, it's important to note that this is just my personal opinion, and if you guys disagree with my opinion, that's completely okay. However, though, please do respect the fact that this is just personally my opinion, and it's not yours to control. And if you do call these countries like something else, that is totally fine. It is again fine because my opinion is again not mine to control. So with that out of the way, let's go ahead and jump straight into this video. So we're going to be going ahead and starting off with arguably the most controversial country of this topic, this being this beautiful magenta Yugoslav country. Now, um, most people have called this thing the Croat Bosnian Federation. This is a name that was made up by this is a name that was made by Altsen Mapping. However, though, I personally disagree with this name, and some people do too. Some people have called this thing Slovenia, others call it North Yugoslavia, and yeah. Now, the name Slovenia came from DE Mapping a few days ago, when he argued that the capital of this country was located in where modern Ljubljana is. Ljubljana is the capital of Slovenia in real life. Now, personally, I don't really like to call this thing Slovenia, but rather I like to call this thing Croatia. Now, the reason why I don't really agree with the name Croat Bosnia Federation is that the name kind of sounds more like an alternate history, like it sounds more like a name for an alternate history country that would be a federation between the modern countries of Croatia and Bosnia in our timeline. And also, the thing is, there really what if you the thing is, in WICSO, there really is no like Bosnian state. Calling this country the Croat Bosnia Federation is kind of like saying that this was a union formed between WICSO's version of for, WICSO's version of Croatia and WICSO's version of Bosnia. However, though, there never really was a Bosnian state in WICSO. The closest thing you could probably get to that is this country over here. We're going to talk more about this later. But I personally call this thing Croatia because if you look at it, I think my mom's awake right now actually. But if you look at it, but if, but to me, just looking at it, I instantly think of this country as Croatia because although the capital is located in Ljubljana, the central location of the central location of the capital is almost like where Croatia is in real life, and also, when I look at this country, I instantly think of Croatia. So I personally call this thing Croatia. Now, in his most recent video, a Norwegian called this thing Dalmatia, and I do like that name, but overall, I call this thing Croatia. Another name you could probably use for this country is the Kingdom of Croatia Slavonia. And if you don't know what Croatia Slavonia was, it was basically an Austro-Hungarian, it was an autonomous kingdom within Austria-Hungary, and I believe it had I think it roughly had these borders. Now, honestly, now borders, and personally, I think Croatia Slovenia is an accurate name because, I mean, if you think about it, the core homeland of this country, the core territory of this country, is located where Croatia Slavonia was located in real life. However, though, for now, I simply call it the Kingdom of Croatia. Moving up over here into this like Polish country, I personally call this thing the Kingdom of Poland, primarily because DE Mapping called it in his first video. Now, you may disagree with that, and I do see the reason why. The reason is that the reason why this name is very erroneous or incorrect is because the country of Poland in WICSO is mostly referring to this union country, to the Polish Union that was formed following World War I. that was formed as a union between the remnants of this country, this green country, and Prussia. And Prussia. Now, personally, some other people have called this thing Slovakia or Warsaw. Now, the main reason why I disagree with Slovakia is because Slovakia is located down south, and the main reason why I also disagree with Warsaw is that if you actually look at like an actual map of Poland in real life, yes, I know this is an inaccurate map, but just deal with it. But Poland, in real life, the capital city of Warsaw isn't actually located down here in the south, but Warsaw is actually located somewhere right over here in the eastern. It's more located in the northeastern part of Poland. So yeah, that's the reason why I don't like how people call this country Warsaw, because the city of Warsaw is located somewhere right over here in real life. Now, I actually have called this country Silesia, and I honestly think that that name kind of makes sense the most, because if you look at it this way, a majority of their land is located in the region of Silesia. If you don't know what Silesia is, it's basically a region in modern Poland, in IRL Poland, that borders the Czech Republic, and Czechia is located somewhere right over here. So, I personally call this country Silesia. However, though, even though I do like calling this country Silesia now, I still sometimes use the name Poland thanks to DE mapping. Not saying you should bash DE mapping for that name, but it's just that the first names I kind of is that a majority of these countries I kind of got their names from DE mapping or what DE mapping called them. As for these two other countries, I call this thing Belarus and I call this thing Prussia. Now, moving on over here to gold Ukraine. Most people call this thing Ukraine. However, though, I more so call it Crimea because following World War III, there was a Ukrainian state. There was a Ukrainian state that was that was formed as a sort of remnant from Russia. If you look at a map of what was that, I believe? If you look at a map of if you look at a map of following World War Three, you'll see that over here in Ukraine there was a country that was located more in Ukraine. So this country was formed as a remnant of Russia, and that's why I call this country Crimea. Because the reason being is that the capital is in Crimea, it started off in Crimea, and there's already a Ukrainian country, or rather, there was already a Ukrainian country that was more so located in Ukraine than Crimea was. Now, another country whose name is highly debated is the country of America. Some people call this thing Carolina because that's where the capital is. However, though, calling this country Carolina to me kind of makes it sound like that this is like supposed to be like the equivalent of North Carolina, when really it's supposed to be the equivalent of the United States. Now, it is said several times that this is not the United States. However, though, the thing is, even ADIS calls this thing America, and the thing is, this country itself already owns a majority of the United States, which in real life is already called America. So I personally think that the name of Carolina is beautiful, but I personally dislike the name at the same time because honestly, America just makes much more sense. Now, moving on to this little pink New York country, some people have called this thing New France, others have called it New England. However, though, I personally call it New York because apart from being where the cap that because although apart from it being the capital of this country, I also have a headcanon that when the founders of New York were going to went to establish a colony, they actually went ahead and decided to resupply their ships around the city of York. I don't actually know where York is, but when they resupplied their ships at York, they actually liked the people of York for refueling them. So in their honor, they decided to name this country, or rather, I guess this section of French Canada, New York, primarily as a way to honor their friends over here in New York. Now, finally, moving on to the white country, I personally call this thing the Western Farmers Union, and not Romania. Now, I know that name may stir up some feelings in people, but honestly, I didn't really know what else to call this country. I was considering on calling it Romania, but and even though in my WICSO AU or my timeline for WICSO, Romanian is the language of the farmers union. It's just called Farmerian. I personally call this thing the Western Farmers Union, and I believe that's what the Western Farmers Union also called itself in the WICSO universe, in my WICSO universe at least, because it literally did not know what else to call itself. Personally, I kind of see this country as having a similar case to Turkey. Now, in real life, Turkey moved away from having an Ottoman identity, as in, trying to unite multiple ethnicities into one Turkish identity, into into Turkey, into the modern Turkish identity. Basically, in real life, after World War One, Turkey wanted to create itself a new, distinctly Turkish identity, an identity that would not be about it assimilating other people into Turkey, but to making Turks or the Turks of the but into making the actual Ottoman Turks living in Anatolia Turkish. And I honestly believe that that concept applied to the Western Farmers Union, which is why they don't call themselves the Farmers Union, but they call themselves the Western Farmers Union because they literally have no idea what else to call themselves. So yeah. However, though, after World War IV, um, I now call this country the Farmerian Republic because that is what ATIS Pro called it following World War Five, following World War Four. I almost said World War Five. And I think that's actually gonna. Oh, actually, no, wait. There's actually one more country. Now, the last country we're gonna be on the agenda will be this country. Now, some people personally call this thing Ethiopia, and personally, I don't really like that name because it's kind of a misnomer or an inaccurate slash convenient name. The thing is, this country first started out in Somalia, and for me, this country and for me, calling this thing Somalia is like saying if, France started out over here in Burgundy. It's like kind of like saying if, say England, like, it's kind of like saying, England, it's kind of like saying that if England decided to just conquer the entirety of the British Isles and still call itself England instead of, the Kingdom of Great Britain. That's basically my point. The This country never started out in Ethiopia, but rather in Somalia, and that's basically why I call it Somalia. Somalia. And with that being said, I think that's gonna do it for today's video. Now these are just some of the names I have. Oh, there's actually one more. Now, this red Irish country, some people call it Ireland, some people call it Hibernia. Personally, I call it Hibernia because I think it's a unique name, even though Adis calls it the Irish country. So, yeah. I call it Hibernia because I just like it. And moving over here into Iberia, we have the case with North Iberia and South Iberia. I personally call this North Iberia Galicia because I really like the name North Iberia because although this country, yes, is located in northern Iberia, its capital, northern Iberia, it never really went to fully control Iberia. The closest country that got to doing that was Andalusia, and even they didn't own Catalonia and the Basque country, or the areas of the Basque country. So that's why I call this thing Galicia. I believe that name was first used by Altson, and and the reason is simple. The country's capital is located in Galicia. Now, for this next country, I call it Andalusia because because the thing is, and I personally don't really like the name Spain because if we're talking, because the thing is, this country never really controlled Spain. I mean, it did control most of what is Spain and Portugal in real life at some point. However, though, it never really encompassed the entirety of the Iberian Peninsula or most of it. Or actually, no, or rather, the capital was always down over here in the south where Andalusia is in life. So personally, I still call this thing Andalusia because it's always been in the south of Spain. Now, the final country on the agenda we're gonna be having here is this West African country. Now, I personally don't have a problem with Morocco. However, though, I don't really like it because I mean, if we're being honest, West Africa is a more accurate name, even though in the UN's definition, the West Africa is this and not this. However, in my opinion, I think the name West Africa is more fitting because apart from it, apart from it being, apart from its name being, well, being used by ATIS Pro, it also is located like in Western Africa. Now, for our last country on the agenda here, we're going to be having the sort of we're going to be having the Carthage over here. We're not Carthage over here. Now, following the African Union Civil War, I know this isn't the right map, but still, following the African Union Civil War, the country was split into West Africa and East Africa. Now, some people call the East African Union the Mediterranean country. However, though that name is like extremely inaccurate because it only owns this southern part of the Mediterranean and not the whole Mediterranean Sea, which is, well, this. Not really this, but, well, yeah, most of that. So I personally don't really like the name because it's really inaccurate. So I still call it Carthage because honestly, that name is more interesting, and besides, it is an ancient name, or rather a historical name in real life. Some people also call this thing Tunisia, and I see the reason why, but for now, I call this thing Carthage. Now, the last country we're going to be having on the agenda, for real this time, is this little brown country. Now, most people don't really call this thing Israel or Palestine because they don't want to go into geopolitical issues, and honestly, I see the reason why. Now, I personally don't really like to call this thing like Sinai or. Now, I personally don't really like the names people have given for this country. Some people call it Judea, some people call it Sinai, some people call it Palestine, some people call it something else. But I personally like to use the name of Canaan because, for one, if you don't know what Canaan is a region over here in the Levant that was occupied by the Canaanites, who were basically the predecessors to the ancient Israelis. Now, Israelis. So I personally like to call this country Canaan because I honestly think it's a very unique name. I may have butchered the pronunciation, but whatever. But whatever. I like to call this country Canaan. And with that being said, I think that's gonna do it for today's video. I'm sorry if it was a little bit of a short one if you wanted more countries. But honestly, this video is kind of running out of time and I'm afraid it might cut off like some parts of the video because it randomly does that. So without that being said, let me know down below what more countries you would like me to cover. And with that being said, I'll see you guys next time. See you guys.